Are we good?
Yeah.
All right, we are on, so we'll call the meeting to order, 5:30. Reading the district's promise statement. We promise to provide a supportive environment where unique learning experiences empower all for their chosen life adventure. Are there any additional items for the agenda? If not, do we have a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve.
That's Tim Burke. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Sherry Dashner. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. Motion carries 5-0. Recognition of visitors and open forum. We have some people in the audience over there, Marlene and Michael, welcome. Nobody has signed up to speak. So we'll move on to reports and presentations.
We're gonna start tonight with, Casey Rose, the Director of Teaching and Learning, and, David Rysdam, the high school principal. They're gonna talk through a number of different things. So we're gonna use the course registration catalog for next year, to help guide us through this, discussion tonight, so.
Okay, so
Oh,
we're gonna,
you both need to grab a mic, sorry.
sorry,
Turn it to its screen.
turn the bottom.
Nope, just push the button.
Oh, push the button. Neat. Oh, I suppose because we're recording.
Yeah.
Thanks. Okay, I was like, what are we doing? There's one more time. Okay, so we're gonna be looking at kind of four main areas in our presentation. The first is the addition of weighted grading to our system and kind of our grading system here at JWP. The second is some adjustments in our graduation credit requirements. Some of these are just updating kind of our policies to align with previous things from the state. Some of them are to align with new requirements from the state, and some are some more local type additions to our graduation requirements here. And we're kind of looking at what these are going to look like. This will include a policy change update, which we will have for them, get to them. So you'll be able to see these changes reflected fully in the policy that we're gonna have you guys kind of read over and encourage you to look over, so we can kind of get that rolling, but we'll discuss kind of what those are. The third thing we're gonna look at is high school schedule for next year and give you a little bit of an update on where we are with that, because I know that is a point of contention from time to time, so we will kind of address where we're at with that in that process. And then the last kind of update we're gonna give is READ Act, which is kind of the main literacy statute that just came down from the state in June. It is very encompassing, so we'll give you a little bit of an update on where we are with that and the process of that.
Yes. I'd just be honest, I'm kind of riding the coattails over here. Casey has put in a ton of time on this stuff. She keeps me informed. We make certain decisions together, but she absolutely has been the catalyst for all of this stuff, so thank you, Casey.
Yeah, thanks.
This is the grading system. You see the current and then weighted. I know we kind of looked at this separately, but the one we kind of came to was this one. I liked it for a couple of reasons. I liked that the hard letter grades were a flat rate. There weren't any, extra decimals that needed to be done. It was easily readable, and it didn't superinflate like some of the 5-point systems, things of that nature. When we're looking at weighted grades, we're looking at academic achievement and celebrating those kids that want to push themselves. But on the other token, it has a real tangible benefit, which is getting into the school that you want to. We have one student that I've been working with very closely that if he gets a certain grade point average, he gets full reciprocity in Kansas. That's a big deal, and it might not be possible for some without being able to reward success. So for me, this is a real benefit for some of our kids. Not only that, it plays into the whole idea behind, grants and scholarships and what you're eligible for. So for me, celebrating academic success has always been, a point, even when I've got kids in school and I've had kids that have gone through it. It's always been something that I wanted to see. So, but this gives you the full outline, and there are some other things that go along with it. Right now, we're looking at just PSEO and CIS, and we'll talk a bit more about additional classes in a few.
Yep.
That we're gonna be adding to that fold as well. And then we'll talk about the honor roll eligibility, which I don't think has changed much.
Not really. So as David said, we looked at a couple different area schools. So we pulled the grading practices for Owatonna, Triton, and Waseca. Those are kind of the big ones in our area that do weighted grading. So we kind of pulled all three of those, looked at what they did as far as how they determined kind of the breakdown in that table, and then where their stuff fell for this like honor roll and the graduation with honors GPAs, and kind of aligning those a little bit more effectively with that weighted grading scale. So you can see you can see the new kind of newish, again, they're not really changed, A and B honor roll, and then graduation with honors. One of the things David and I really liked about how the high distinction versus distinction, oh yeah, that would probably, there you go. Nope, that's much better. Can you scroll down a little bit, Jeremy, to the graduation with honors? There you go. The high distinction and distinction, it's the top 5% or this GPA or higher, and then the top 10, the next 10%, or this GPA or higher. And so, especially in these like kind of transition-y years where like some of our kids are gonna have 1 year of weighted grades, and so like our freshmen will be able to do that all the way through. Like, we didn't wanna set a hard GPA line with it being kind of a little funky, you know, especially for these transitions, but that worked out really nice. And then the other thing we updated is our academic letter, like for lettering. I don't know where our previous numbers came from as far as what qualified you to get an academic letter. It was a little funky. So Nikki and I had Nikki pull all the stuff she needed from Gopher Conference and MSHSL to make sure that our stuff all aligned with our conference requirements. It was slightly out of whack before. It's fixed. So Nikki actually wrote this chunk to make sure that it aligns with what our conference requirements are. Yeah. That's kind of it for me.
Jeremy,
Yep.
are you gonna send this out to us so we can look at it also?
Yes, I can.
Okay.
You should
thank
also be able to access it. This catalog is posted on the school website, so our families have access to this at this point, our students have access.
This does,
Yes.
even though we haven't even approved it yet. So I'm just wondering why it's on the website then if we haven't approved it.
We talked about going forward with weighted grades
Mm-hmm.
and whatnot, so we'll approve it coming up, but we needed something to move forward with,
Okay.
so.
Because the other changes that are in the catalog are things like course offerings and that sort of stuff, which I'll touch on a little bit more down in the high school, like once we get to high school schedule. We needed the families and kids to have access to that as well. Additional questions about this?
Oh, it's great, thank you.
Okay. Graduation credit requirements, which will be, yep, that one, you can stay on that top part, Jeremy. Again, a lot of this is adjusting to state statute, or our things we were doing but weren't necessarily following statute the way it was written. So in here, some of our big changes is the arts credit. So state law, which I think state statute for the arts one was 2012, 2013, don't quote me on that. It's 2012. It's been a thing for a while. All students are required to have 1 credit of art. We have allowed our CTE classes to count towards that art credit, which they could if our CTE teachers were licensed in art and were teaching the arts standards and assessing the arts standards. Then things like woods and baking, those sort of things could fall under this arts credit, but none of our CTE staff, to my knowledge, are licensed for art. So we've kind of been playing in a gray area. So we're cleaning it up a little bit. So that arts credit needs to come from visual arts of some form taught by somebody licensed in visual arts. So here that would be AJ, and band or choir. Those all fall under that arts category. So they can gain that 1 credit of art by taking any of those courses. So that is an alignment fix a little bit. Below that, you'll see 1 credit of CTE. Now, we were very cognizant of, right now we have a whole bunch of kids maybe taking woods to try and satisfy that art class. We don't want to like tank those programs, so this would be a consideration for a local graduation requirement. This is not coming from the state. This is a graduation requirement we've discussed kind of as a team, wanting to foster and keep getting those kids in those programs and keep those programs, you know, moving and thriving, because our CTE program is actually really, really robust and awesome here in JWP, and we wanted to keep that moving. So that 1 credit CTE would be more of a local standard. The other, the one below that is personal finance. Right now, students take consumer econ. That is a requirement we have here at JWP. State law is now going to require that they take personal finance. For this class, we're basically changing the name and tweaking the curriculum just a tiny bit, so we're actually in a really good place with this. A lot of our surrounding districts don't require their kids to take any sort of consumer econ, personal finance, yada yada thing. So they're scrambling to try and figure out how they're gonna fit that in. So that new requirement actually works out well for us, so yay on that one. And then the only other thing in here is a change to our science, which, again, this is a state requirement. You can scroll down to 9th grade, because I think that's where you're gonna see it. Yep. As many of you know, they've updated science standards. These new standards take full effect. We have to be in compliance starting next school year. And one of those is the addition of this Earth and Space Science course. Pretty much everybody's putting it at 9th grade right now. That's kind of where we plan to put it as well. That's just where it fits really effectively. Prior to these new science standards, Earth and Space Science was taught at 8th grade. So now it will be taught at 9th grade. So we're just bumping it up. Our 8th grade becomes more of a physics-based class, so it's kind of just flip-flopping those two spaces right now. So within that then, the graduation requirements for science will be a credit of Earth and Space, a credit of biology, and then a credit of physics or chemistry. They can choose which one of those they would like to take. So when we get a little bit further in this rollout, which I'm working through, we'll get it, it'll be okay. We'll have to play around with like how many sections of physics and how many sections of chem we offer. I would love to be able to offer both. I would love to be able to offer advanced sections of both. We just gotta kind of see once we get this Earth and Space Science in place and get bio into 10th grade, kind of what that looks like moving forward.
I would also like to add to one of the things we have going for us during this transition is we have buy-in from all 3 of our science teachers to get licensed for the Earth and Space Science. They've all made a commitment to do that and sit for the test. And so that gives us a lot of latitude to get these kids the classes that they need moving forward right away this next year, with biology being the big push. So that was really, really nice to have those conversations.
Yes, sir.
So this will all go in effect next school year.
Correct.
So weighted grades won't go in effect till next school year if it's approved. Can you do it halfway through the year?
Yeah,
or-
so I've been messing with the system. I'm getting trained on Infinite Campus, and from what it looks like to me is we just have to put there's a weighted grade category. We just have to put in the system and then check a box that says we're using this grade system for this. So if you guys gave me the green light, I could do it tomorrow.
Do you think that'd have an effect on what kids might have taken for classes, or, you know, how they might now
I think,
feel? I'm not saying good or bad either way, just,
no, I don't. I think you would possibly get more kids. I don't think you'd get less by any
Or if
stretch of
they-
imagination.
didn't take a class because it didn't have it, but now it's going to.
It's possible. Each kid is unique. I know for my oldest daughter is 22. She graduates this year, college.
Yep.
And she always took, like, she had a year and a half worth of college. And her big thing was, well, I got a 3.2, but I took all these harder classes and they took all that much time, and I could have gotten a 3.6 or a 3.8.
Mhm.
And so for her, it was never a consideration, but it was always one of those things that kind of stuck, you know? So I think the real benefit is how we're setting these kids up for success moving forward and giving them more opportunities. So would we have more kids? I think it depends on the grade. I think senior class possibly. Junior class, I think you have a bunch of kids there that push themselves just because they push themselves. Sophomore class, possibly. 9th grade, it just really depends on the class and the individual kid. I don't think it's going to be it will not be a deterrent, let's say
Okay.
that. There's no way that this would be a negative in any way that I from a student standpoint, so.
And there's so many different scenarios you can't plan for, so.
Yep,
it's just
yep,
kinda-
yep,
But if you were to implement it tomorrow,
yep.
and somebody wanted to consider changing a class for next semester, they potentially
Oh,
could
yeah,
if there's
Sure, I
room
would
and,
say we would have to probably do it tomorrow to get PSEO rolling, because I
Yeah.
think we're already through. I think I talked with the last 3 students today that we needed to
Okay.
talk to
okay,
about sign up. It's not to say that we couldn't.
Got
I
it.
mean, most
Okay.
colleges are really give you a lot of latitude with stuff like this, because they, you know, it's a business.
yep,
That type of thing, and we have some really good relationships right now with the colleges that serve us and we serve them, so it could possibly, for sure, especially knowing that junior class and some of the sophomores coming up, I think it possibly could. Yeah,
yeah.
But if you're looking at doing that, you wouldn't implement it going back to the first semester of this year, then it would be moving forward for the second semester, because then those kids do not have a
and
chance.
that would be my only worry, is that we would be, those kids that would have been influenced by it now don't have the opportunity to.
Mhm.
And therefore, those that do want that high score, that high GPA, are at a disadvantage right from the get-go. So, no, this would be a next semester thing if we were to do it. Yes, we could flip a switch potentially and do it, but just speaking from a pure fairness standpoint, I don't think that would be the correct thing to do.
And then even if you could get it out tomorrow, how much of a possible hassle could it be? And I don't know, maybe this is more directed for you, Casey, if all of a sudden you have 10 different kids or 15 different kids going, I want to take this now, and trying to figure out their schedule for
next semester.
next semester.
Yep. I will be completely transparent. We are spending Thursday and Friday fixing next semester, right? Where there was debacle at the beginning of the year, we stepped in as best we could, workshop week, but we only troubleshot first semester in the throes of the fire that was happening, right? Like, we fixed first semester, knowing we would have to go fix second semester. We have to fix second semester regardless. It's on our docket for Thursday and Friday to get that fixed. I mean, we have classes right now that have 2 kids in them to be run next semester. We're not gonna run a section of 2. That is just not good practice on any end. You know what I mean? So we already have to do some changes for second semester anyway. So if it came down to, hey, we roll this out here soonish, I don't know if it would be tomorrow. Tomorrow seems lofty, but we roll this out soonish. The week after break, we have a bunch of kids coming in and are like, I want to change my schedule. That wouldn't necessarily be a big deal anyway, because we're going to be changing schedules. We have to change schedules for second semester anyway. We're going to try and keep everybody as consistent as they can so we don't have a huge fruit basket upset. But we know we have sections of 2 and 3, and I found out today one of our teachers has nobody in their class. Like, those things have happened in the schema of the last few months, which is fine. So we have to troubleshoot and fix it anyway. So if we're
Okay.
gonna fix it, let's fix it. Sort of a thing.
That would have been my answer as well. We gotta fix it anyway, so why not give the kids the benefit that want the benefit?
Nice.
Yes, sir.
So remind me some of the other things you're having to fix, implementing the online aspect that you can't take online if that class is offered here at JWP, or what are some of the other things that you're implementing?
Well,
Or
I guess for
fixing.
me, I haven't heard of whether that policy is going anywhere yet, but that was just kind of my vision from the start, is that we're losing all these seniors and juniors at times that, you know, well, seniors mostly, we don't ever see them. You know, I had them as juniors, and I kind of miss seeing them now, and we'd like to have them here, and it speaks to a couple of different things just from, you know, my new position standpoint, and boy, I sure like to not force them per se, but give them opportunities here so that they can have a senior year with their classmates, so they can enjoy that last hurrah and still get the benefits of everything that they're gonna get by moving on to college. Some of my best memories were from senior year. It doesn't mean that's the way it's always gonna be for everybody, but I do know that being able to spend that time with those kids that I had grown up with was something I wouldn't trade away now, you know, hindsight 2020. And so for me, if we can put policies in place that if we're offering an algebra, college algebra course here, and we have a qualified teacher to teach it, we have two, why would we shove them off somewhere else? Every piece of data I've ever read, and I read a lot of data, tells me that getting it in class each and every single day from a licensed teacher, you're gonna get more out of it than you are from anything online or from seeing somebody every other day. That's just what the data says.
So just remind me on college algebra, for instance, would that be a PSEO class that's being taught here?
It would be, with
Or a
CIS.
CIS
It would
here?
be taught here.
Okay.
And then PSEO would be if they went off campus.
So it would qualify for your weighted
Absolutely would, yeah.
aspect?
Absolutely,
Okay.
yeah. No, so my idea when I first rolled this out is, God, we gotta keep these kids here.
Yep.
We gotta keep them involved because it's only gonna build culture, going all the way down to those grades that are seventh, eighth, and ninth grade, because they do look up to them. And those are the kids we wanna keep in the room.
And is the reason you can't implement that next semester is that we don't have the space for it, or you don't have approval to
I don't-
implement that,
I
or
don't know
what?
where it's at yet. I'm assuming it has to come to you guys, and you guys have to approve it, and then.
I have to check with the state to see if the state will even allow it.
Correct.
In the past, the state has said whether you want to, whether you offer the class or not, you have to allow them to take online if they choose to.
Online PSEO, or just online
Just
period?
Online, period.
And we don't know the answer to that question.
I have to double check on it. I want to double check for sure before we implement this. Because I don't want to implement it and then find out from the state that we can't implement that. If they come to us and say, I want to take online, either we have to let them or we don't have to. That's what I want to know for sure.
Does the weighted, if they go off campus or online, does that still count with the weighted or no?
Just
If it's
CIS and
PSEO.
If
PSEO.
it's PSEO,
If
but,
it's college credit.
okay,
If it's just online, Connections
Style.
Academy, whatever, absolutely, no.
okay.
Because that's just a regular high school course.
Now, I think in our policy committee, there was a policy we were gonna have Dave look at
Yes, it was
regarding that.
regarding
Was-
that same one. Yep.
And has he had a chance to look at that?
Yes, he's
Yeah,
given
okay.
me the information.
Okay,
Couple other questions. English honors, does that qualify as CIS or PSEO?
At the moment, it won't.
Okay.
I think we have to iron out a few things about we have to specifically set criteria that everybody, and then everybody that meets that criteria has the opportunity to.
Right.
And I don't know, I haven't seen anything clearly defined yet.
And I believe there's a tie to a college for CIS as well.
Yeah.
Professor,
Yeah, but, I mean, when you talk about honors and AP, they're absolutely part of the
sure. So that could
question
be a
of the equation.
future.
Oh, for sure,
Yeah.
absolutely. We just have to make sure that it's available to all that meet certain criteria. I don't know if that's been defined. I haven't seen it.
Yep, so what would be the rationale to try to implement it for next semester? I mean, we've waited this long. Why would we implement it mid-year? I mean, what would be, from your standpoint, why would we do that mid-year?
Short answer, because we could. I mean, I don't think there's any
So what about the fairness
massive benefit.
aspect?
What's that?
What about the fairness aspect of not being able to have planned ahead as to whether that was gonna be something that happens? You know, that you could have kids that would have liked to have done that?
Yeah, you could absolutely make that argument, right? Maybe they haven't signed up for any college courses yet, and that's a longer process than just, I'm already in the system and I want
Mhm.
to take this class. So you could absolutely make that argument for sure. Yeah.
Okay.
did you have something else you were gonna say with it? So I was just about the credits and stuff. I know at least one school, Lake Crystal does a volunteer credit to graduate. Is that something that we've?
Like as a requirement?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
It's not that, something we've looked at as far as a requirement. I know, Ms. Shanerock's, what is that called? Service Learning and Leadership course. She is planning on running again next year. And I think she's actually we're looking at doing it for the full year instead of just a semester. So I know we are building that within like the capacity of what we are offering here, but as far as making it a full required credit, that's not a discussion we have had yet. I would say we'd probably be open to the discussion, but it's not something that's been kind of brought to us and brought.
Yeah,
Forward?
I would check with Lake Crystal, because I'm pretty sure they have that requirement, just curious how they do it and what it, I'm intrigued by it, so, think that'd be a good thing for the kids if. we
And that
could
would
do
take
too.
place of an elective,
I don't know, that's why I
would be
said
my
check
guess.
with,
because you're not gonna increase the
Yeah.
number of requirements.
yeah,
Right,
no.
yeah, it would just,
So then that would be one less elective class that they'd
Correct.
be able to take.
I
then.
don't know,
It
because
would be.
maybe it's something outside of school that they get credit for. I have no idea. I don't know how it works. That's why I'm saying just check with Lake Crystal to see how they do it, just to,
And for, this is for next semester, well, no, I mean,
This will be
yes,
for next year.
next year.
This is all going through next year.
So if kids don't take a study hall, they can get 8 credits per semester?
7. So that's actually a good segue into our the next thing, which is the high school schedule. Where are we at? Because some of these things kind of play into that, which is not in here. I don't have anything fun in there. Okay, so the high school schedule, because of how the teacher contract has been negotiated, we will be switching from an 8-period day to a 7-period day. This is in order to get all of the required minutes that are now involved in our teacher contracts. So there will be a 7-period day. High school teachers will teach 5 periods. They will supervise 1 period and have prep 1 period. And that'll makes all their math nicely in minutes and things and stuff. So that's what we're kind of looking at for next year. We are still planning to do blocks and skinnies. Our block courses will be high school science, art, industrial tech, and facts. Those are kind of our 4 categories of courses that we're going to leave on block. So they will take up 2 of the periods and they will run for a semester. So one of the things we're doing is getting rid of the A day, B day bananas. That is the bane of my existence as far as scheduling. We will be eliminating that A day, B day thing. So the kids will have the class for the same amount of time. It's just instead of having it every other day for the entire year, they'll have it every day for the semester. And that'll help a ton with scheduling, which I'm very excited about. Everything else is currently slotted to be taught on skinnies. There's a possibility about maybe doing some block stuff with a PE elective or 2. We are still kind of playing that out. I'm not 100% sure with that kind of what that's going to look like. Middle school will be exclusively on skinnies. So middle school science is going to be a skinny. Middle school art is a skinny. Middle school elective classes, skinnies. The middle schoolers we're keeping on skinnies. That 90 minutes in one sitting is a lot for all the things going on in their brains. So we're going to keep them at skinnies. So there'll be 7 skinnies out of the day. The other kind of things we are adjusting at the middle school level is we are going to back to the band, choir, or both music component for middle school. I know last year and this year, we kind of piloted this, everybody does both for 7th grade and can kind of choose for 8th grade. We're going to go back to you can be in band, you can be in choir, or you can be in both for both 7th and 8th grade. We're just finding, especially with the 7th graders, having all of those kids, like the entire grade in the space at the same time, it's a bit of a managerial nightmare, as you can imagine. So giving them a little bit of space, giving them some ability to separate and like kind of pursue the things they want to pursue is what we're going with for them. Additionally, we're doing some work with the electives. Right now, the kids take 1, 4, 5, 6 different electives, which is bananas because they also have 6 required classes. So the scheduling on that is just really, really messy. So we are going to move to a 4 elective a year system for them. So they'll have each elective for a quarter. So 7th grade will be exploratory, which is going to become kind of our transition into being a big kid class, right? It's going to work on those organizational skills. How do you actually time manage when you have to walk to all your spaces and like your teacher doesn't just come to you? How do you use a planner? How are you respectful and responsible online? How do you write your teacher an email when you're missing things? Like all of that stuff, that'll be exploratory. So they'll have exploratory, art, facts, and ag. So those will be the 4 that our 7th graders get. And then as 8th graders, they'll take kind of the rest of those. So they'll take industrial tech. They will get art again because it is a requirement that for both 7th and 8th grade that they have access to art. That's a state requirement. Career exploration, kind of getting them set up for like, hey, what are some things you might be interested in the future? What classes should you maybe register for if that's what you're interested in doing as we're prepping you to go to the high school? So career exploration and then writing. We are keeping our writing course like a standalone writing course. It'll be part of that 8th grade elective rotation for them to just really kind of work on and solidify some of those writing skills as they get ready to move into the high school space. So those are tweaks on middle school. We're adding a few new classes. So we are adding a CIS college algebra class. So that's exciting. We got the confirmation and a bunch more information for Riverland yesterday. So that's awesome. We're getting that kind of nailed down, what that's going to be and what that's going to look like. So we're doing that one. And then we are also working on adding a CIS art course. This will be like a portfolio review type course. Most of our kiddos, if you want to go into an art school, you have to bring a portfolio like done. Like, this is my high school grouping of things that I've done, and here's all the stuff for it. And it's actually a huge process for those kids who are going to go into some sort of arts college. And so we want to give them an opportunity to like build that portfolio and work on that in kind of that space. So with those additions, we are super close to having at least one CIS course in every single department. The only one offhand that I can think of that we don't currently have something in is music and business. Business is the other one. So those two, we don't currently have a CIS option, but all the other departments have at least one CIS. Most of them have more than one. So that's awesome. Okay, yeah, questions about those specific things? Yes, sir?
So 7th and 8th, they can take band and choir, or they can take band or choir, but they must take one
Correct,
for both 7th and 8th.
correct. Yep.
9th grade, no
Um,
requirement?
9th grade, it would fall under that arts requirement, so they could take band, they could take choir, they could take painting, they could take drawing. Any of that will satisfy that arts requirement.
Can they take both band and choir?
Yes. Yep, so at the 7th and 8th grade level, they will be able to take them both in, like, they're kind of aligned within the schedule right now, so there will be a like sequencing day trade-off thing. We'll get it scheduled, it'll be okay. At the high school level, I intentionally made sure like the concert band, which is 8-9, is not at the same time as the choir, like the 9th grade choir, so they can like take them both without having to do any weird stuff with their schedule. So in theory, it's all going to play nicely, and they're currently not scheduled at the same time, and it's just going to work and be magic. That's what we're going to go with. Yep. Okay, any questions on like kind of what we're changing? Okay, and then as far as where we are in the process, David and I did the first round of Infinite Campus training last week. Last week. It was fine. There's 4 rounds of stuff you need to do as you're kind of going through. We made it through round 1, so that was good. They've switched their platform though now, so it's all online, so I can just watch the video do the thing. So I'm excited about that because last year it was go to the 3-hour meeting every couple of weeks. And so now it's just you do it on your own pace. So that's going to be super nice. But we've made it through round 1. I have some time on my docket when we get back to start round 2. We're restructuring registration and the registration process because that has also been fabulous. So we have recreated the like registration forms. So there are new forms that we will train all the staff on. We're actually putting in place a significantly, well, I'm going to call it significantly more effective. I don't know if it's going to be or not. In my brain it is, of a checks and balance system to make sure that our kids are getting the credits they need in order to graduate. Because that's one of the things that we're kind of noticing now with changing of the guard is we've had some kids fall through some cracks and nobody knew that, or maybe it wasn't overseen as closely as it needed to be. So one of the things we will be implementing is like basically a credit check sheet that will stay with their advisor. So our kiddos keep their advisor 7 through 12. So they will have a file with the sheet in the file for every single one of those kids. And then at the beginning of the year, we open the file and hand out the sheet. Which classes did you pass? Which classes did you not pass? If you don't know, come talk to me because I can pull it up. and write them all down. And those sheets will stay with the advisor. So now the advisor is going to have the ability to kind of track that of like, oh, you failed math? Oh, you failed math again? Okay, now we're gonna have a conversation after the first time you failed math, but now we're gonna have an even more like conversation with more people. So it just, instead of having one person overseeing 300 kids, we will have one person overseeing the 25 that they've had since they were 12 and kind of helping with that. And I think just having that checks and balances is going to be really important for us.
So isn't that the guidance counselor's job to be making sure that our kids are on track from 9th grade through 12th grade with meeting all the standards?
So in theory, yeah. Yes, that is
So
what
then-
should have
But now we're
happened.
having teachers
As part of the
doing,
registration
doing,
process, yes.
but the way you're stating it, you're saying we're having teachers track these kids to make sure they're staying. So why do we have a guidance counselor if the teachers are gonna be the ones now that are gonna be held to, because they're having advisory, to track these kids?
Well, so our guidance counselor does several things in addition to that, so there's kind of like this whole other group of things she does, but she would also be helping with that. It's just, again, it's one more checks and balance, because you're absolutely right, our guidance counselor is supposed to be the one that's overseeing it, but when we start the school year with like 8, how many kids do we have at the beginning of the school year that we were like, oh, we're not even close to graduating, why didn't we find you until now? Like, that's a lot, it's a lot for one person to oversee. Yes, I understand where you're coming from, but having one more person and one more set of eyes on that to make sure that that doesn't happen to any of our kids, I think is really important. As far as if they're going to be solely responsible for making sure those kids like get all the credits, no, but again, having another set of eyes on there of like, oh, okay, you didn't pass math this year when we pull out when we get your schedule. Did we recover the credit, or did we get back into this math class? Or it's just good to have another set of eyes so that we have at least one more person watching over our kids. I would assume that component of like helping the kids go through and earn credits and getting their stuff will stay with our guidance counselor as well. It's just having another, checks and balances are important.
So is that occurring because we're gonna have advisory in 24, 25? We're gonna
Yes.
have a 15-minute or
Yep,
20?
so we have a
or-
15-minute advisory still, yep, for 24, 25, all the kids will still have advisory every day.
So it's not like we're just piling another thing on top of the teachers, advisory comes, and this piece kind of comes with that?
Yep,
Historically, the teachers have gone through this process anyway.
Okay.
Just last year, I took my 12 kids through, okay, this is registration, we fill out this sheet, we go through all this, and essentially what we're doing is we're adding one piece of paper to it,
Sure.
saying that you have all these boxes checked, save these 2 or 3, you need to make sure you have this, 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 and this.
So not overly burdensome.
No, I wouldn't say so even a little bit. Or it could even be, okay, as simple as, okay, we have some concerns with this and this, we're gonna set you up a time with a guidance counselor type of thing. But, I mean, at the end of the day, we need to make sure that these kids are getting where they need to be
Right.
to be productive, and if I'm gonna give 5 more minutes to these teachers, I think I can sell that,
Sounds good.
so.
should be a whole folder somewhere.
Makes sense.
Not necessarily critical. Try registration materials. There you go. And then to that one. So this is what this sheet will look like. So it's just got all the categories, and this is super hard to see, so I don't know if you want to zoom in with this, Jeremy, again. So it's just got the category, what the class is, and then if they passed it or not. So, yep, it's just checking a box on whether or not they passed it. And again, so they'll just have a file folder in their collectives, and then choose your English electives because the English is funky, then your actual electives and some alternative courses. So again, we will be training the staff on how to use this and what this looks like and what our thought process is for this before we have the kids do anything with it. But essentially it just makes reading this significantly easier. And then once the kids have their list of things, they will go into Infinite Campus on the official day and put all their numbers in and magic, and then we will get them, and then we'll start building. So that's kind of what we're doing. My goal, my internal personal goal, is to have all the kids in Infinite Campus by the end of January / the first week of February. We'll see, that's my goal. So that we can like really start building and playing with the schedules and getting all of that laid out. Yada, yada.
So
Questions?
when you say have the kids, you mean their registration all put in by the end of
Yes.
January?
Yeah, I want them having filled out their sheet, put their numbers in Infinite Campus, click submit, so
Okay.
that I can pull any kid and see what all the things are that they've put in.
Nice.
That's my goal. That's all high school things. Anything else from high school? Negative. Okay, my last thing is READ Act. This one will go fast because there's not actually anything to look at. We sent out sequence of things. READ Act, again, is the main literacy program from the state. There are 3 possible trainings that we could choose from to have our staff go through. We sent out an initial staff survey after doing a little bit of like, hey guys, this is what it is, here are our options, this is what we know, go ahead and play around, look at it, yada yada. We gave them about a week. I should have given them more time, my bad, to kind of go through and dig through that material, and then we just had a Google form like what would be your first pick, what's your second pick, yada yada. Of the staff that responded, 70% of the staff picked letters as the one that they would choose to do. So that's good. Last week, we had, I touched base with United South Central. They have almost their entire staff, if not their entire staff, trained in letters. And so one of the pieces of feedback we got was, we want to talk to teachers who've been trained in the program. Fair. So I got a hold of Karen over in United South Central. She put together a panel of 3 staff who just came and did a virtual meeting with our elementary and then our high school staff that will be affected by this training here in the media center. So we put them up on the screen. They did a little presentation, so the staff got to hear from them. And then we sent out the official videos from the state about each of the 3 programs. So our staff has been given those as well as just as additional information for them. They weren't available when we went through the stuff initially, and we're now available for them. So they've gotten those. We've gotten some clarification on some of the questions we had. So for example, the deadline for having everybody trained is at the end of next school year. Letters is a 2-year program, so we won't be through it by the end of next year, neither will literally anybody else in the state. Will we be able to get an extension? We've been told yes, you will be able to get an extension. When they initially released the trainings, they said this one would cover kindergarten through 3rd grade. But we have staff kindergarten through 12th grade that need to be licensed or like go through this training. So will this count? Yes, it will. So we can just do one big swoop of training if we would like, which would actually probably and will likely end up saving us money-wise. So we'll see. But so there have been logistical questions like that that have been answered. How we're paying for it, what the schedule is going to look like, and who we're going to get to train our staff has not been answered. So like all the important things, we don't know still. So we're still kind of waiting on that. Once that happens, once we get more of that information, we'll be able to set up a calendar and that sort of thing for our staff and see what that's going to look like. Again, I'm going to be really transparent. We're hoping to be able to build as much time as possible into the calendar for next year to provide them time in building on whether those are PD days or whatever. And we have PD days already built in the calendar, but how we structure it, that to make sure that our staff has as much time here as possible to get some of this done, because letters will be an additional 144 hours for them spread out over 2 years. So it's an extra 72 hours a year that we're asking them, well, the state is asking / telling them they have to put in. And that's a big commitment. That's a lot of time outside of what they're already doing when they're already stretched so thin. So we want to help and support them as much as we can with that once we have more information. I think I'm done now. Question?
Did you say an additional how many hours of training?
it's 72 a year. The letters program is about 144 hours. Carry-all, which is through the U of M, will be an additional 68 hours for that year. And then core was 40 and change?
45.
40 and change for the year.
So this one's like way more than the other two that they could have chose?
Correct. Yes, this one's significantly more. It is also the only one that's done. So the other two programs aren't done being written yet. So there's that. Like, we brought in people who have gone through the letters training. We only brought in people from letters because nobody's gone through either of the other trainings. They're not written yet. And so we don't know the outcome of them. We don't know how well they're going to work or not work. They're not done. Yeah.
So how does that work as far as the teacher's contract? I mean, this is an above and beyond.
It can be above and beyond.
I
We're
mean,
gonna,
if
we're gonna
we-
do as much as we can within.
Yeah, but I mean, you're not getting 144 hours
No.
or 72 hours in during the school year, so.
No, we'll have to pay them their contracted time outside. Any work that we have them do outside of time, they'll
Okay.
get paid an hourly rate for that.
Okay. And then, and you stated that you don't even know, like, who would do this training yet, or when it will be done, or how much?
So I can tell you who in building is required to take it. I can't tell you who the leader of our training is going to be, or how many trainers we would have from Lexia is the company that owns letters. So let's, for the sake of the discussion, say we go with letters. Lexia has people trained that will come in and do seminar classes with our staff halfway through each. There's a 3-hour training every half unit. So the first year is 4 units, 8 trainings, 3 hours apiece. Those live in-person trainings are done by a trainer from Lexia.
Okay.
We don't know who our Lexia trainers are. We don't know if they will be coming from Lexia. Will they be coming from the state? Will we be able to subcontract through the co-op? All of these things have been put out in the universe as these are possible places that your trainers are going to be coming from. But that's all we know, is that there will be resources. Hopefully they have people, hopefully they have enough people trained to be able to train us and get our stuff laid out. If they don't, that's gonna be a state thing. Like, the state's gonna need to figure that out. It's not us. Some districts in the area have people who are letters trained that are now becoming trainers. So they are in-housing everything. We don't have anybody Lexia or letters trained, but Lexia has also in the last 2 months come out and said, you can only do that if half your staff is trained. Because there are a bunch of districts who had 2 people trained, that those guys are now going to train the rest of their staff, and obviously Lexia is losing money on that now. But so we don't know what the personnel is going to be. And it might be one of those, we find out, well, your trainer can only be here on Thursdays from 1 to 4. I don't know. So then we're going to have to build our schedule around that. But we could also have your trainer can work whenever you need at however much time you, we just don't know. We need that information from the state.
Does that have to be in-person training, or can this be done over Zoom or?
It'll likely be done over Zoom unless it's somebody from the co-op or one of the neighboring districts that could come
Okay.
in. But it
'Cause
will,
I didn't know if they had to be in person, because that would really constrict
Oh,
when you could do it.
absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
right. But again, we're waiting on the state is how are you staffing this? What are we doing?
So we're currently on a wait list of,
We
or
haven't
just
picked
in
it.
every
We haven't
school?
even finalized what program we are doing yet. We haven't finalized anything, because the other thing is, we don't know what this is gonna cost the district. The state has money. The state has already said that funding is not going to cover what it's gonna cost for all of this. We, as a district, independently contacted letters last year because we knew this was coming. We're like, okay, let's maybe just jump ahead of it, yada, yada. Just for the materials and the trainer, it was $88,000. That doesn't include what it would have cost us on top to pay our staff to put in all these extra hours. We don't know what the cost is going to be. The state, in theory, is going to offset a chunk of this cost and or negotiate down contracts. At some point, we will know what that's going to be. But as of right now, we don't know. And so that's another part of it, right? Obviously, we want to do what's best for kids, and we want to make sure that we're getting our staff as trained as we can and give them the best resources we possibly can. But if it comes back and they're like, $2 million, like, that's just not feasible for a tiny little district like ours. Like, so we're just kind of waiting. We're waiting. We're not on a waiting list. We're just straight up waiting.
Okay.
So has USC made it through 2 years of that training?
They are halfway through their second year.
So they will be done
So
at
they
the
will be
end
done
of
at the end of the year.
24.
Yep. Yep.
And do we know then, I mean, I know costs can change, but do we know kind of what it costs their district to do this then? If they're almost halfway through?
I don't know for sure. I could reach
Find out.
out to.
I mean,
Dan
it'd give us
Anderson
at least a
or
Budget.
reach out and see.
ballpark, you know,
And they may
idea.
have got,
Budget.
Yeah.
I know there were a number of grants available a few years ago for it, so they may have gotten it through a grant too.
But they
we
still
can
would have
reach out.
known, okay, here it was 100,000, we got 80 of it paid by grants or whatever, and then would that be coming out of our staff development fund? Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
well,
Or
As
if,
much
what
of
we
it as we
can,
could,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, okay.
you would hope that the state would offset
Well,
what can.
just to be a little bit snarky, they were also supposed to fund special ed, but, you know,
Yes.
so, just saying.
Any other questions? Thank you both so much. I'm sure this was a lot of work to go through all this, so thank you, Casey.
You're not released to go yet, though. Casey, you are.
I can.
Casey, quick
Going to the
question. So
superintendent's
roughly,
office.
who has to be trained on this? Just roughly.
Yep, so this is all elementary, all intervention staff, high school sped, high school ELA.
Yep.
That's everybody. All sped. Preschool and preschool sped.
So other than special ed for high school, no one?
ELA.
ELA.
So the
English.
English, high school English team.
It's about 46, approximately 46 staff, because administration has to be trained. in.
Total is 46.
Roughly, yeah, give or take.
When you say
Thank you.
administration, all of administration?
Mhm.
Like,
Administration has to go through it too, because it's a licensure thing.
Thank you.
okay. All right, thank you, Casey.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Have a good night. See you tomorrow.
Yep,
Yep, good
I'm gonna
work.
go to the concert.
Oh,
Sorry, I ate
Yep.
a lot of that time. Sorry, guys.
All right, so moving on, superintendent report.
okay. I promise I won't take as much time as David and Casey, but I did ask David to stick around because a couple of the things he's gonna have better answers for than I will. But safe routes to school, I reached out to Clinton because keep thinking about this in the back of my mind of, okay, where are we at with it and whatnot. But he did say that he talked to the county engineers today. They're planning a pre-construction meeting in early spring, and he did put down that they'll invite myself and Mr. Dashner to that meeting, so we get some better answers.
Have costs changed with that since it's been a couple of years now?
It's actually cheaper.
Dropped?
It's
Okay.
dropped.
And how long is that aid there? Wasn't there a time limit on it?
There was, but it got extended,
Okay.
so we're okay. Vape detectors, we do have 2 vape detectors going right now. We have more that are either being delivered to us for trials, but they are working, doing what we need them to do. I also talked to Mr. Goebel today about what are we doing to educate our kids about vapes and different things that are out there. And he has a drug unit coming up as part of his curriculum, so he is gonna be putting vapes and in part of that drug curriculum. So we will be educating students on that. And then also Sheila's starting very soon with our DARE program, and she's gonna have a vape tie-in for that also, for vape prevention.
How many have been caught?
The first day there
Total-
were.
Yeah, total people caught or like repeat offenders, because realistically, we're talking about the same 12 or 15 students at this point, because I think, because they know they're in the building, they're not bringing them in the building. And so, but you still have those that are going to continue to do it because it's what they do, but how many have been caught with the detectors? Since we've gotten them, probably 8, and 3 of those probably repeat offenders. So, I mean,
It's working.
it's working, and I would say at the start of the year, if we could have narrowed it down to just 15 students, I'd have considered that a huge win, you know, because it was pretty widespread. But I think now that they know that they're there and they know that there's consequence, that they gotta be out of it.
Good.
And were those through a grant?
We've not paid for anything yet. These are all
They're
trials.
test ones? or
Yeah, it's
whatever?
loaner, so we've got the first one, which I liked, it's big and it's clunky, and you know exactly what it is, there's no hiding it, but it was it was instantaneous, like it was real time. One of the ones we have right now is not, there's a minute delay on it, but they do have ones that I'm advocating for that are tied into the camera system. So if the detector goes off, that camera pops up on my screen, I can see whoever's coming in and out, and is it New Richland?
Maple River has them.
Is that who it is?
The Halo ones?
Yeah,
Yeah, Maple River has them.
and I've been in contact with the principal over there, and he says it's not even a question of anymore if you have it or not, it's just put it on the table, because I know you have it type of thing, and it's not an argument, it's not an anything, so, yeah.
Awesome.
So I would imagine, first time parents are called. Or, I mean.
No, first, well, we have a couple of different routes we go. So we have a person that comes in and say this is somebody that wants to, a lot of these kids have a lot of things going on, right? And so punitive isn't the answer. You have to support it with other things. And so last year they started this last year where they had this lady that comes in that's recovering and all that, and she would sit down with them, and it was 3 times you have to sit with me. After that, if you want to continue it, you continue it. And we have had a few students that have either just asked to meet with her without being, caught. Sometimes they have met with her and then continued throughout the entire year, and even into this year. So we have seen some success with this as well. But right now, it's a call home, it's a day, depending upon what time of day you get caught. The second time, it's gonna be 3 unless you commit to meeting with this person and going through the program. But it gets progressive. But the more help and the more things we can get put in place to help these kids, because again, we're talking about a lot of other things that are playing into this, right? And so it's gotta be with the student in mind. However, there has to be a deterrent, there has to be something to say, it can't happen here, because I have 3rd graders in the building, I have 5th graders in the building, I have kindergartners in the building, as a parent, I would be livid if my kid were afraid to go to the bathroom because somebody was in there doing something they shouldn't be. So,
But to
that's
answer your
right,
question,
my perspective.
they are confiscated.
Well,
Yeah,
that I know.
No,
Yes.
yes, they are.
No, that I know, I just didn't know.
Yep.
For the repeat offenders, what's happening with them, but you answered.
It's
for me,
just,
so.
it's progressively, and I guess this is the one thing that we've had to I'm gonna have to clarify moving forward, because, again, best practice is not anything I really have gotten into when it comes to this type of stuff. But, at the end of the day, I guess for me, I haven't had to get to that point. I think I've had repeat offenders, and it's just twice now. Not to say that they haven't done it more, I'm certain they have, we just haven't gotten to that point yet. And I'm not prepared to report on what happens next just yet, because I haven't had the time to research or talk. I mean, I have some principals in some areas where they just confiscate it and send them back to class. I don't necessarily get that. I have others that are, it's 3 days, it's 5 days, it's 10 days, and then we're talking expulsion after that. I don't necessarily agree with that either. So it's gonna be, you know, doing some research and getting some guidance as to what's going to be the best for the students as a whole and for the individual as well. So it's a tough tightrope to walk, you know, ethically, morally, and
Right.
from a policy standpoint.
Yeah, and we'll have to adjust the policy if necessary. Thank you.
Okay, so let's go on to the next thing.
So if everything works out, maybe the way you envision updated camera system, sounds like maybe the Halo system, but they would come together and be implemented in the summer, ready for next school year,
Yep.
24, 25.
Yep.
That's kind of your vision right now. Got it.
Quick
But it's
question.
helpful to have these other brands to at least see how they
Well,
work.
And to be honest, Halo would not send us trial
Sure.
at no cost.
Oh,
I
So we
believe- yeah.
called them and said, okay, we have 3 other companies that are sending it at no cost.
Mm-hmm.
If you're not going to, we'll go to those other companies. And then they changed their tune and have sent us 2
Oh,
for trial at no cost.
nice.
okay.
Smart move on their part.
So,
to
Got it. Thank you.
Just a question with Brandon, you had said he was gonna put education in there. I know there was that policy change about cannabis too. Is he gonna include
Yep,
that as
that's
well?
all in there.
Okay.
Cell phone changes. So there's gonna be a big cell phone change starting the first of the year when the kids come back. Kids will go into the classroom. The expectation is the cell phones go in their pockets. They stay in their pockets till the end of class. If they need to go use the bathroom, they go use the bathroom without their cell phones,
You're talking the door pockets.
the door pockets.
I was thinking
Yeah,
that.
Sorry.
Yeah, I was
Sorry.
too, I'm like, that's gonna be great.
Yeah, the door pockets that are in their classrooms. So, the expectation is that's where they stay till class is over. The students can use them in between classes and at lunchtime. New Richland's doing this and it's very successful for them. There's a school up in Maple Grove, a middle school in Maple Grove that's doing this. However, they're not allowing them to have them at all during the day. And they're seeing great things from that with student interaction with each other, just the socialization that is there, so. But with that being said, I'm sure we are gonna get some pushback from students, families on it and whatnot, so I want to make sure that we have board support moving forward with this, with the cell phones. Katie can give you examples of what she sees when she's here subbing, but I would tell you it's an addiction.
So with that, what's, 2 questions. What is the discipline going to be for the students? Actually, this is going to go with 3 questions, but they'll be quick. Second, are we sending something out before the break so that the parents and students know that this is happening? So, you know, it just like they haven't heard about it? And then the third thing is, what are we gonna do to make sure the staff follows this? Because we've had this issue in the past where some staff has followed, some staff hasn't. And if you're gonna have any teeth to this, if the students are expected to follow it, we need to make sure the staff and everybody else follows it.
Okay?
I'd agree wholeheartedly with all of that. So I guess the first of the year thing we'll talk about, because I would like to have some time to talk with my staff about it first. I don't mind the messaging so much because this has kind of been my stance, even as a teacher since forever. But if the kids are caught with it, it comes to me. It sits in my office. It's a call home. If it happens again, they lose it for the week. They just have to turn it in to me for the entirety of the day. For that week, it's also a call home. Strike 3, we could be talking potential suspension, you know, that type of thing. I don't know that that's the right answer, but we can absolutely graduate it. As far as the teachers are concerned, I think realistically, we're talking about maybe 3 teachers total. And that's just me constantly being there, supporting them, and I think that might be what was missing in the past, was the principal that's not afraid to come into the classroom and reinforce what the teacher's telling them. You can't have these here, they're not welcome here. If there is an issue, you can just hand them all over right now, and you can come get them after school. I have absolutely no problem having a conversation with anybody. One of the things that Jeremy left out is you're not just seeing this locally, you're seeing this nationally now, right? Where they're not allowing them. And some of the reports, and again, you can see reports that will reflect anything, but the reports that we're seeing early on are, it's not just those benefits in class and attention, but it's also mental health. And so for me, it's a fight worth fighting.
Oh, I agree. I
So,
agree.
To me, it's not so much, you're gonna do this and because we're gonna do this because we know what the benefits are, and then what can I do to support you in that? I don't think, I would hope that most of the teachers in the building know that if they call, I come.
Okay.
I see that as my role right now in this position, so. Yeah,
So why not go to the no cell phone all day? Put it in a locker in the morning, you get it at the end of the day. Why allowing it lunch and between periods? Why make the teachers be the ones to check to see whether it's in the pocket? Why not just go to
completely.
beginning and end of day?
Right, a completely fair question. Honestly, I think that's a decision we should probably make together, but I also think that you're gonna have to have a place to put these things. And you're gonna
Agreed.
have to have a check-in system for that. I mean, I've seen one system, and I think it was in Virginia, they got old PO boxes. And they assigned one, you know what I mean? It was like a mail thing. You put your thing in there, okay, is the student here today? Okay, where's your phone? That type of thing. So they had somebody in charge of looking after this. So that is definitely an option. And
Just curious,
No, no,
and
no.
I know it can be implemented,
Right.
you know, progressively.
And I can see benefits both ways, and to me, it really doesn't matter. The first 2 weeks are gonna be horrible no matter what, which way we go with this. But, after the first 2 weeks, like we saw with backpacks, they just kinda got it. I gotta get them out of the hallways now, and that's the next step, but they're not classrooms anymore.
The research I saw, it didn't take weeks.
Yeah,
Because they were confiscated,
right,
literally it only took days.
okay. Well,
You know,
that's,
day one was
that's
like
refreshing.
64 phones confiscated.
right,
You know, day two was like 16,
okay.
and then it was literally 1 or 2 phones after that.
And as long as we're consistent,
Mhm.
that's probably.
But the bullying decreased, you know, the mental health, because you couldn't have these things occurring in the middle of the day.
It wasn't constant.
So
You can get away
I've,
with it.
I've seen nothing but positive for doing it. So kudos to
Yep.
Mr.
Yeah.
Euler and you, Mr. Isdale, for being willing to take that step. I think you have 100% support from the school board on this one.
What about the Apple Watches, the smart watches?
Oh,
How do
yeah.
those come into play? I mean, I don't have one, so I don't know
Yeah.
what you can all do with them.
Well, there's two ways. You have your mobile, which is basically your phone, that you can have it, but then if your phone is within
Yeah.
close enough proximity to your watch, it's the same.
Bluetooth.
Yep.
So that's where
But-
dropping them off in the beginning of the day would probably be better then, huh?
But you're not playing Clash Royale on it.
Yes.
You know,
There's
you
not
might-
as
you
It's
might
much
just
read-
getting a
to do.
message.
Correct.
You can read messages, yes, like,
Yeah, you could read a text.
depending on how you set it up, you have email, you have text, all that stuff. And you can get Snapchat
Are
notifications,
they
so there,
taking away at tests then?
there's
'Cause I know-
calculators
I
on
know
them.
we have some tests in college that they have to check their Apple Watch at the door because of the stuff you can get off of that.
Really?
Yeah, and that's state for nursing. I mean, comes down from the state, they have to be, so.
Be curious what others are doing, and,
Yeah,
because I didn't read
And
anything about
I
it.
think as you see this trend continue, you're going to see people just going to the wholesale, you can't have it here type of thing, because, I mean, talk about not even the Apple Watches, but earbuds.
Yeah.
If it's sitting in a pocket up there,
Yep.
it's nothing to say that I'm not listening to something else other than.
Yeah.
True.
And so for me, it was always, your earbuds are the same thing as your phone.
Oh,
Mhm.
Take them
yep,
out of
good
your
point.
pocket.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
So, no, so definitely fair question.
Yeah, and I can see rolling it out eventually, but I'm thinking mental health wise, then these kids are actually conversing with each other in the halls in between classes and at lunch instead of on their phones the whole time, so, but yeah, I think maybe we could get to a point eventually, but we probably have to have purchase those things to put them in first, so, and that's gonna take some time probably to figure out what's best and where to put them, and so. Yeah, nice. Let's hope it works.
Oh, it will.
Yeah,
It will.
it's the accountability piece is the huge part, so, yep. Thank you very much.
Yes, thanks.
The roofing project, we have a contract now, so we're ready to sign that contract. Food service, I'll talk about some stuff with food service in just a minute when we get to the committee reports. And then I wanted to let you know that there'll be an email going out to elementary families about watching their kids at the different events that are happening within the building. Sounds like there was a fight Friday night that I heard about this afternoon with some kids that were, or elementary kids that were here without supervision or anything else. So, Mr. Adams and Nikki came to me today and said, can we send a letter out? And I said, absolutely. I just wanted to make sure the school board was aware of it, that, yeah, they need to be able to watch their kids when they're at games. Doesn't matter if it's from across the gym or what, but the only reason the kids should be leaving the gym area is to go get something from concession stand or go use the bathroom. Other than that, they should be in the gym watching the event. So.
Do we allow kids to just come in without an adult?
No, but they'll go somebody will go open a door for somebody or this or that.
Or they'll just be here, the parent hasn't picked them up, and they're
Yep.
just still here.
Still here.
What is it on attended 13, or do you have to be older?
It's sixth grade and older
Sixth grade and older,
is where you don't have to have an adult with you.
or somebody else watching them,
So, but they'll be sending that letter out closer to the first of the year. And the only reason they're not sending it out earlier is because we don't have any home events this week. And if we send it out now, by the time we have home events again, everybody will have forgotten about it. That's all I have right now. I know mine was pretty short tonight, but David and Casey covered a lot of other stuff that I wanted to talk about, so. Any questions for me? Hmm?
Is he allowed to go now?
Yeah, David, you're allowed to go now.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you
Yeah,
very
thank
much.
you, guys.
Appreciate it.
yeah.
All right, so budget information, enrollment update, historical cash balances, any
Nothing
Thing there,
significant
any-
with either one of them.
questions anybody has? Kind of look through it. All right, committee reports. Non-certified negotiations.
We've had a couple other meetings, and we've worked through a bunch of the language. I think most of that is probably pretty much done. There's a couple little things, but then we're meeting again, what was it, January 3rd?
January 3rd, yeah.
Yeah, again, and like everything, the big things is gonna be the financial compensation and all that stuff, so still working on it.
Okay. Any
Have
questions?
you
Oh,
gotten
yeah,
to that
go
part
ahead.
yet?
The
Yes.
financial, we've
Okay.
offered and they've counter-offered,
Okay.
and, yeah, so,
Are you close, or?
No.
no, not for what, their union rep wants for all three of the groups, no. So. And then, Katie, you can talk about food service.
Do you want to talk about the direction we want to go with it, or do you want me to say what you're kind of thinking for next year?
You can lay it all out there.
Okay. So we kind of came to the decision that it would make sense to go on our own for food service, with the possibility of doing maybe a co-op or something with one of the surrounding schools, which would help with cost of food costs and that type of thing, menu planning, and whatnot, so it's kind of where we're at right now. I don't know if you want more
So,
details.
yeah, essentially, it's starting the process to look at what it's gonna take for us to go out on our own. And if there are any area schools that would want to possibly co-op with us and share a food service director, or how we wanna handle that in the future. Along those lines also, we wanna look at our à la carte offerings, because right now, there's a number of, like, highly caffeinated drinks on the à la carte line, such as Mountain Dew Kickstart and a few others that I guess we don't feel need to be on that. If they want to go buy a bottle of water, great, or, all the pop is diet, but it's still got all the caffeine in it. However, I think there could be some better choices for those students for the à la carte line, even though these may be okay according to the federal guidelines. I think we could find a better choice for our students to purchase.
In the way the à la carte is set up right now, it does tie up a person during the busiest times of their lunches
Yep.
in order to sell those items too, so.
But that's still gonna be somebody there unless you get rid of the à la carte altogether.
Which you could. I guess
Wow.
there's nothing I see of nutritional value really in that whole area.
Yeah, I think that needs more discussion, but I would say if we're gonna eliminate something from the à la carte, we also need to eliminate it from being sold anywhere in the school, Bulldog Cafe. Cause if you're gonna eliminate, say you can't have it during lunch, we shouldn't be allowing them to go in between classrooms or whatever then and buy it there.
Right.
So, I mean, I think if it's whatever decides to be done, you know, whether it's just eliminating certain portions of it, where it should go all the way to the Bulldog Cafe and,
Yeah, absolutely, I would agree with that.
Because we are kind of sending our kids mixed messages. I did talk to both our health teachers and they're teaching them of the, how it's not nutritionally beneficial to be consuming
Right.
that much caffeine, and yet we're serving it here at school or
Right.
offering it to our students.
Burgers and pizza are not in the à la carte area.
No,
So, when it comes to the burgers and pizzas and stuff, that's considered an entree? So they can't have their tater tot hot dish and then
No.
take a burger?
it's a separate
Separate?
item.
Okay, so then what about, if they have their food and they can have salad, but either one, there's not enough room on their plate for their salad, or two, like many kids are, they're picky and they don't want their salad with the rest of their food and they have an extra bowl? Are they getting charged for a second entree?
I can't answer that because I don't know.
Okay, because Eric thinks they are, he was gonna test it, but.
Okay. I don't know. I throw all mine on one tray and walk away, so I can,
You're
So
obviously
you're
not a
saying
Dashner.
the bowl itself, separate, would be
That's a-
considered a separate one, but if you have it
could
on
go
a
into
tray?
Infinite Campus right now
Yeah,
and
you
look
could-
and see what you're
Yeah, I
charged
don't-
for.
Yeah, I don't know when he last had it.
well, I,
Asking me to go into something that I haven't had to worry about since John left.
Yeah.
But back to the food thing, have you guys started a process or whatnot to look for an area farmer that can help supply some of the fruits and vegetables?
not at this point.
Okay.
We had a meeting last week
Okay.
just to say what direction do we want to go.
Are either of you going to the MSBA conference?
no?
Okay, I'll go to if the Action for Healthy Kids thing is still there. I went to it last year, it was very good, and I would love to see us get more involved with that too. So, I'll either dig up my stuff for it or see if they're doing it again this year, but I think that's something that we can work, it has a lot to do with area farming and bringing in fresh food and stuff too, so.
Yeah. What we pretty much discussed was you gave us 3 options, if we wanted to continue with Taher, if we wanted to find another food service company, or if we wanted to go on our own. And we kind of came to the conclusion it made the most sense to,
Yeah, and
Do that
there's no other food service company. The first year we
Right.
went to it, we had 2 bids, and then after that, we've never had another bid besides Taher.
Yeah.
Right.
Nobody has anything else down here.
But on, top of that, I mean, yes, we're looking at ways, but what is Taher doing to fix it? Are they looking at possibly restructuring? Or, you know, I mean,
I haven't heard anything from Brett recently about what they're doing. I know their portion size has, I would say, gotten better or larger. Whether they're following guidelines now or not, I can't for sure say yes or no.
Too many bad complaints. I have another scoop.
But that's all I can report on that, because Brett's been gone there lately. Even on our meetings that we've had set up with them, he's missed them.
Would, if we do director of food services, would they then be responsible for like all those messages that go out, the negative balances? Tahar deals with that. I don't, I
Yep.
see them, but I don't know what
Right.
they're managing.
Yep.
It. Okay.
And that's something that's set up in Infinite Campus, so it's,
Automatic.
once your account reaches this amount, you automatically get that email on Sunday evenings. I know it's
Or
Sunday
more
evenings
often.
because, it's Sunday evenings for me for the negative balance. So,
You gonna say something, Kevin?
Tim, just ask, so are there no other companies? Because what I remember, okay,
we send,
because what I remember was Matt said, I didn't know how hard to push, I just kind of let them be. But what if we actually recruited?
We
And
have,
act-
we
Okay,
have, because we've.
so I'm
we put
just,
this
I
on-
just
yeah.
remember what Matt said,
No,
and he's
no,
like, I
because,
didn't
because
know-
we've been through it 2 times before, and there's no other company that comes down in this area besides Tahar.
Okay,
And that, the next closest one, and this was 10 years ago, the next closest one was up, north of Le Sueur. And they said, okay, we're gonna try to come down here, cause then maybe we can get somebody else, and then Tahar beat them. And they said, it's just not financially worth coming down here.
Didn't we specifically got other ones from MSBA, and we called all of them, and none of them.
yeah.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
does every other district have it on its own then down here?
St. Clair does, you said.
St.
and
Clair
New
does.
Richland,
I
and
don't think
was it
Waterville
Water?
does.
Waterville doesn't?
I think Waterville's with Tahar.
No,
No?
they're on their own.
Okay, who was the one that was close by that was with Tahar, and they're like, we haven't had any
it was a
complaints?
TCU,
I don't
New
remember.
Prague.
I can't
It
remember. I don't
might-
think it was
I
New
don't know
Prague,
for
but,
sure.
yeah.
but
So we'll
even
see.
colleges in farther away from the cities are having the same problems to try and get, whether it be catering or cafe, you know.
No problem, I just wanted to make sure that
Yeah.
it truly wasn't.
Yeah, it was
So then, I mean, it seems as though literally, we just have to go hard at figuring it out on our
Building
own,
it
just
out.
like Waterville and New Richland and,
And the good thing with that is, if we go this way, is we can control what we're doing, and, you know, Tahar is making money off us. I mean, they are. They're not doing it for free, and we're still making 10%. We can bring in a lot more better food and quality stuff, and we don't have to make money on food service. You know, you just break even, or if we wanted to make $15,000 so that in 5 years when we need a new oven,
Yeah.
it's covered, you know, so that gives us a lot more flexibility. But the hard part's gonna be trying to find workers, enough workers.
Sourcing, you know, our costs are gonna be higher because
Well,
they're able to buy it more in bulk. with all their
That's
other
why we're
clients.
looking at if we can co-op possibly with New
Yeah.
Richland, you get that buying power, you know, or St. Clair or
Yeah.
whatever.
I
And it
mean,
should
why could we
benefit
not
them
serve
too.
the exact same things on the exact same days as
True.
2 or 3 schools?
That's what we were talking
I mean, why
about.
wouldn't you?
But we have to
Right.
coordinate with the other schools and
Yep.
stuff, you know, so.
I mean, we already don't know what we're serving in a day or two. I mean, what does it matter to follow
point.
somebody else's schedule?
Right.
So, sounds perfect.
But that's where our meeting was, is to kind of kick off and move in that direction and get some more information and, you know, try to get something set up here a lot sooner than, so we don't have to worry about stressing out here towards the end of the school year for next year.
How can we help you? What do you need from us?
Right now, it's with Jeremy and probably Wendy to kind of go to the surrounding schools and
Yep.
discuss if they have any interest, so.
My
What-
next meeting with them is, the Wednesday after the first of the year.
What is the contract obligation for giving them notice to?
I'll look, but I think it's 30 days.
I think so.
Who can all stay, or who is
I
still-
can.
I'm
And we have at
gonna,
least 4 that can stay to finish
I'm
this?
finding out when he actually goes on, because it's concert and when, and I think he's only
Okay,
in
here's my question. Strategic plan, I can tell you that I'm meeting with Wendy and Annika tomorrow for the writing stuff, then I'm meeting with the admin team on Wednesday to look at everything, make sure we have everything in there that we want in there, and start writing our plan.
Okay.
Is it possible for this moment in time to skip the consent agenda and go down to old business, specifically the under levy discussion, and then get into new business, because we do need to make some decisions about that?
Yeah.
Was there anything to discuss in consent agenda, or can it just be quickly done?
I don't have anything to discuss in consent agenda, so it could just be quickly done too.
Okay, back to the strategic plan. Don't forget to fill in your, fill out the school board evaluation,
today.
thing. Yeah.
I
we only have
did
to do
it.
So far.
I did
Okay,
it.
good.
Since the
Thank you.
I did mine today.
Okay, good. Thank you. Okay, well, let's just do anything that anybody wants to pull out on the consent agenda?
No.
Any clarifying questions? Okay, if not, do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
That's Tim Burke. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
That's Tim Elke. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. Motion carries 6-0. Okay, so old business 8B we'll go to start.
Okay, 8B, under levying options. Blow this up a little. So, thinking about this, I'm gonna put on my teacher hat and walk up front so I can point to the chart. Wendy and I met with Aaron last week again to talk about this, to make sure we were understanding everything correctly. Aaron is still recommending to pay off the 2014 bond. So it's 2014 Bond A. But I want to explain this in a way that he explained it to us, which I thought was very helpful for us. So if you had a $200,000 house, last year you paid $681 in taxes, or that was your actual tax payable for 23. Now, our proposed tax was a full levy. With interest rates and everything else, the cost of your house now is worth about $225 so it's went up about $25,000. So your taxes would go up to $797.
And so that's what's on the statement that
That's
people
what's
got.
on the statement that came out. Now, once we pay off the capital bond, this number doesn't change. The number that changes is right down here, and that's our ag to school tax credit. So that's a 26-cent jump on all of the farmers' acreage. That's huge. So in talking through this with Aaron and Wendy, we looked at some different things. So if we were to pay off the capital facilities bond, do an $85,000 lease levy, we would lower the taxes on our home, and we would bring the ag to school back down to 216, so there is no change there. Then the same thing, if we decided to do it for 150, or do a lease levy, or an under levy for $150,000 house, pay off the capital facilities bond, it's gonna lower it even more, and our ag to school is gonna stay the same. And then we did a comparison of a $200,000. So the reason you're seeing lease levy in these is because if we go into our lease levy dollars, we don't have, it's not part of our state taxes.
Well, it doesn't affect our state aid.
There we
Some
go.
of the other under levying offsets state aid.
Yes.
But lease levy dollars do not.
So, with that being said, mine and, I'll go sit back down. Mine and Wendy's recommendation would be that we would pay off the capital facilities bond and under levy $150,000. So it'd be the second to last column. So taxes would go up. I had it figured out before. $96, $95 for the year
From last year.
from last year to this year. However, our ag to school would go up 4 cents.
And that it would still be a little lower than their statement, though.
Correct.
Yeah, it's still under what they are expecting. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, by by $40, under what they're expecting.
Yeah.
Now, part of the reason, or a big reason that I think we should do 150 and not 200,000 is because of the newest reports that came out from the state last week, that we're still in a surplus right now. But as the state continues to spend, in 3 years, it sounds like the state could be in deficit spending. And if we're in deficit spending, there's a chance we would be getting less money from the state at that point. So this would be a way for us to under levy some and give relief to our taxpayers, but still continue to help maybe build up our fund balance a little bit too.
Any questions?
Is the far right under levying by 200?
Yes,
So it's 200, 150.
then 85.
So you want to go option D.
So the reason you see 85 plus the 65.
Got it,
is
85
the-
plus 115. 85 plus 65 equals 150, got it.
Yep.
Yep.
So option would be D.
A, B,
You said D, right, not B?
D, yeah.
Yeah.
D,
Fourth
this-
one.
Yeah.
The
Yep.
fourth one.
Yep,
This would
that's the-
be-
That's the recommendation.
This would be mine and Wendy's recommendation.
Any other questions?
So independent of this is the whole paying off the Series 214 Bond A. That is not wrapped up in this, or it is?
It is.
That
Yeah,
is.
Yep, and that was the whole reason for this, because paying that off takes away that ag to school credit, which then adjusts the taxes for the farmers. So
Right.
this would be paying off that
So
series.
just paying the bond off really messes with the egg to school. So then the under levying is what brings the egg to school back down
What's
to that
left?
216 where it would be originally.
So the 2.6, what are they paying right now? 212?
212.
Okay,
They're paying 212 right now.
and it would be,
And they're
$4.70.
figuring it's going up about $2,000 an acre.
So
So it's,
likely last year, a $7,000 acre is now a $9,000 acre.
well, yeah,
Their
I'm just looking at,
tax
so
statement says
roughly right,
216.
so roughly right now, they were paying 212 an acre. Next year, even though it's gonna be valued at 9,000, they're gonna pay 216 an acre.
Right.
yes. And if we pay off the bond and don't do anything else, because this capital facilities bond helps with our egg to school, we would lose that help and it would drive it up 26 cents per acre. So if we under levy 85,000 or more, it brings it back down to that 216.
And it's mostly just the timing of it, because the payoff would happen before their May statement. So then the estimate they got versus their bill they get is going to be increased quite a lot if we pay off, you know, in the middle there.
What's left on that bond?
Like
That's the
600,000. 600.
605.
605, but we have 100 in,
Oh, right, yep.
in.
Yeah, there's 110,000 or something
In an account.
Fund 7.
For the yearly or 6-month payoff that we have to do.
Yes.
Yeah. Where do I have that written down? Yeah, so it'd be like 500,000 that would come out of the project money that we would pay. Oh, yeah, here. So we have like 109,000 in our debt service fund. So we use that, and then 514 of the project funds that we need to spend before October.
And without full budget, your rough estimate of what we'd add to our fund balance would be what, roughly?
Was it right around 140,000?
Yep,
That's what Ellers is estimating,
yep.
Say that number one more time.
140,000.
So if we under levy by 200, that would simply reduce it by 50? So we'd still add to our fund balance by 100 or 90? Just by your rough estimates?
Yeah, that would,
So we'd still add to the fund balance, even under levying at 200, which we did last year, is your estimate. But your budget does not necessarily take into account 88,000 for READ Act, if we'd have to, which grants you, we're not gonna have to pay 100% of that. but,
right, but,
You know, let's say a third of it, so,
Yep,
Plus negotiations still in
yep,
play.
negotiations, and then,
but we
just-
did build in something into our budget.
we
as
did,
far
Yeah,
as
we did.
absolutely.
Yeah.
an
Absolutely.
increase.
Yeah.
But if we're above that, that's what you're saying, we'd be eating into that.
And a lot of our ESSER money, we're getting down to the last
Well, that's
few
gone.
thousands of that,
That's
you know,
gone
that we've been
at
able to
the end
carry
of
over,
this year,
so,
too.
yep.
And we're gonna do this every year, right? So if we wanted to change what we're doing next year, we could under levy by more or less.
Yes.
Yes.
Mhm.
every
We do
year
this every
make-
year.
Yep,
Mhm.
yep. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Any other questions? Are you wanting to go down to,
Well, in,
9E?
9, well, the 9A is just the first reading, so we'll come back to that. 9B is a memorandum of understanding from the principals group. What this means is, if the earned sick and safe time is, you have to have either 80 hours or accrue 48 hours, right?
Accrue one hour for every 30 worked.
Right.
Correct.
So.
For a minimum of 48.
For a minimum of 48. So David, because his contract was prorated, he only got 72 hours at the beginning of the school year. So the memorandum of understanding is that we would approve giving David 8 additional hours to get him to that 80. So we don't have to worry about the earned sick and safe time.
So that we're in
So we're in compliance with the legislation.
So are you saying the legislation requires more than the 48 hours?
No, the way the principal contract is written, a principal in their first
Yeah,
year
Eric doesn't start till when.
receives their sick time in one lump sum,
Thanks, Tim.
and then in subsequent years, it accrues over the year.
As long as we have
So,
four, we're
I'm
okay.
staying, because
we would like to have
there's
the
3 songs
principals
yet before winter
on
comes
that
up.
accrual basis to fall in line with how we're running ESST.
As soon as this is
Um,
ready.
But David's did not fall that way at the beginning of the year.
Sorry, I can not talk about that one.
Okay, so can we skip to 9D, approval of resolution calling Series 2014A bond.
Do we have a motion?
So moved.
That's Kevin Bourne. Do we have a second?
Second.
That's Tim Berg. Resolution? Roll
Any
call?
other discussion?
Oh, yeah, I guess, any other discussion? Okay, roll call.
Elke,
Yes.
Burke,
Yes.
Bourne,
Yes.
Dashner,
Yes.
Cahill,
Yes.
Size.
Yes. Motion passes 6-0. And then 9E.
9E.
All right, do we have a motion to set the levy to 150,000 under levy? Right?
That's the recommendation.
recommendation.
I'll make a motion.
That's Tim Burke. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Oh, go ahead.
That's Sherry Dashner. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. Motion carries 6-0.
It's a resolution.
Oh, yeah.
Burke,
I'm just trying to hurry.
Yes.
Bourne,
Yes.
Dashner,
Yes.
Olson, Cahill,
Yes.
Elke,
Yes.
Size.
Yes. Motion passes 6-0. Okay, is there anything else anybody wanted to stay for? Because we still have other
Okay,
approvals.
now let me look at this.
I will try.
Because we
So
still have this one to
we,
approve.
we need to approve the, okay, let's,
I gotta go watch my daughter
can we do this in
in the band, and then I'll
So
stop
for-
back in.
Oh, tonight yet, okay.
Yeah.
old
yep.
business? So if we go to 8A, can we postpone that indefinitely and move it to our next meeting?
Mhm. If it's not anything that you.
It's not a
need
make
right
or
now.
break thing right
Okay.
at this moment, no.
All right.
Do you need a motion?
To postpone?
Yes.
Okay, let's just do it just to be safe
I'll make a motion to postpone 8A
indefinitely.
indefinitely.
Okay. That's Tim Burke. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
That's Sherry Dashner. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. Motion carries 5-0.
We do need to do the 9B, so the memorandum of understanding,
Okay,
because we have to have that in place before the first of the year.
and 9C too,
Yes.
so, okay.
So
So,
the-
any other questions on the memo?
The big thing is just to get David up to what statute says.
Yep, because his time was front-loaded, he needs 80 hours. And it's just because of that sentence in the principal's contract. If we take that sentence out, the way we front-loaded his is fine, he just gets 8 more hours, and then we're in compliance.
Were you gonna say anything, Kevin?
Again, he got his time, but I get what you're saying, because he took it all in a lump sum, he goes a year where he's not earning any sick time, which technically is against the safe and sick policy to earn 1 hour for every 30 up to 48. So I get that. So it's not like he didn't get it, and not that our policy isn't in compliance, but they're moving to where you can't front load, to where somebody doesn't earn any in the year.
You can, if you
Okay.
front-load 48, unused sick time has to get paid out. If you front-load at least 80, you don't have to pay out unused sick time. So we're trying to avoid paying out unused sick time. It's, yep,
Okay,
I'd be happy to go through it with you in depth.
sure,
It's just a lot of study.
sure. Well, we're all going through it.
Mhm.
You know, we're all going through through these things.
Any other questions? If not, do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
And that's Sherry Dashner. Do we have a second? And that's Katie Cahill. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye. Those opposed say nay. Motion carries 5-0. All right, approved designation of the 24 combined polling place. And this is just for, more for if we have like a special election or something, we have to have this done by December 31st to be able to do it next year. So, anything else? Okay. Any questions on that? All right, do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
That's Tim Burke. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
That's Sherry Dashner. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. Motion carries 5-0. No donations, and we caught everything else up there, right? So upcoming meetings, January 8th, organizational meeting. And then the school board evaluation, again, following the regular school board meeting. And anything else that Gail will talk to us about, so. We are adjourned at 7:15. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, ladies. Sorry I kept you longer than I was going to. Casey and David's fault.